blue-green water amid a sea of golden sand. From above, lush green circles are scattered across the heart of the Sahara. No natural river flows through this place. No significant rain has fallen on this land for decades. Yet wheat still grows, fruit trees remain green, and people are still living in a place where there should be nothing but sand. Where does the water come from? And is this miracle truly sustainable? Or is it merely an illusion pumped into existence with electricity and money? The answer lies in one of the greatest ambitions Egypt has ever pursued, a project called Toshka. For thousands of years, nearly all life in Egypt has existed because of a narrow strip of land running along the Nile. More than 90% of the population is crowded onto less than 5% of the country's land. Beyond that strip, desert stretches to the horizon on both sides. By the end of the 20th century, that narrow strip was nearly full. There was little room left to build more homes, cultivate more fields, or support more people. Meanwhile, immediately to the west, an immense and almost empty Sahara stretched away. In 1997, the Egyptian government made a bold decision. If the Nile could not support more people where it flowed, then bring its water to places it had never touched. The plan, called Toshka, and also known as the Nile Valley Project, was born with a goal that looked simple on paper but was enormous on the ground. Take water from Lake Nasser, the artificial reservoir created by the Aswan High Dam, and carry it deep into the desert. But before there could be any fields, the engineers had to solve a basic problem of physics. The surface of Lake Nasser lies far below the desert land they wanted to irrigate. Water does not flow uphill on its own. To carry the water far into the desert, they first had to lift it. And that was when the real construction work began. On the southern edge of Egypt, in an area with almost nothing but rock and sand, engineering teams began shaping a structure that would become the heart of the entire project. An intake canal was excavated to draw water from Lake Nasser and carry it into a deep suction basin where the flow would collect before being pumped onward. Beside that suction basin, a watertight reinforced concrete pump house was built, strong enough to withstand constant water pressure through many years of operation. Inside this pump house, 24 massive vertical pumps were installed in rows, like giant columns extending deep underground. Their task was to lift the water roughly 50 meters and push it through a system of pipes into a discharge basin at a higher elevation. From that discharge basin, the water no longer needed machinery. It could flow onward under gravity into a main channel called the Sheikh Zayed Canal, beginning its journey into the desert. This is the central pumping station of the entire Toshka system. By design, the complex can handle more than 1 million cubic meters of water per hour, although the actual volume pumped depends on irrigation demand and the amount of water available in the lake. Picture that. An immense volume of water is forced upward to a height equal to a building more than a dozen stories tall, just for the chance to flow onward into a place where life had never existed. This is not a river flowing under gravity the way the Nile has for thousands of years. It is a river forced to exist, sustained every minute by electricity and motors. From the central pumping station, the Sheikh Zayed Canal began stretching into the Sahara, carrying the hope of a second valley alongside the Nile. Construction conditions here were almost entirely unlike anything people were accustomed to. Daytime temperatures could rise far beyond ordinary human tolerance, while roads, power lines, and worker housing had to be built almost in parallel with the project itself. Over the years that followed, the canal and irrigation network gradually expanded, and the first patches of desert land began turning green. This was supposed to mark the beginning of a major wave of agricultural development and new settlement. But reality unfolded far more slowly than the announcements had promised. The area actually brought under cultivation expanded to only a fraction of the original target. New settlers did not arrive as expected. For years, the project was almost stalled, merely existing rather than growing. The engineering had proved what it needed to prove. Water could be lifted, pushed into the desert, and used to make plants grow from sand. But a functioning pumping system does not automatically create sustainable agriculture, much less a stable community. Technical success, it turned out, was necessary, but not sufficient. Years after the original project slowed, Egypt did not abandon Toshka. Instead, another campaign was launched to revive and expand what already existed, this time with a more practical approach. The new phase of development, often called the South Valley, focused on building a larger network of canals and pipelines, additional pumping stations, an electricity transmission system, and enormous arrays of center pivot irrigation circles clearly visible in satellite imagery. Expanding this network was far from easy. A granite ridge about 9 kilometers long once blocked part of the planned route, forcing construction crews to cut through it rather than go around. During the expansion, about 1 million cubic meters of rock and roughly 80 million cubic meters of earth were excavated and moved, a volume comparable to leveling several small hills. Thousands of workers lived and worked for years in one of Egypt's most remote and punishing regions to make this expansion possible. One familiar figure often mentioned in connection with Toshka is a distance of around 310 or 320 kilometers. But that figure does not describe a single open river flowing continuously across the desert. It is closer to the combined length of an entire network of canals, pipelines, and planned routes spread across the development area, rather than one natural river or a single canal. And to be clear, this is not the new Delta, another agricultural expansion project in northern Egypt. Toshka is a separate story in the south, around Lake Nasser. Thanks to this expansion, the amount of green land in the desert has continued to grow year after year, and the green circles across the Sahara have become an increasingly familiar sight. But a beautiful satellite image is not enough to prove that a system is sustainable. All the water sustaining Toshka still comes from the Nile, a resource that Egypt and other countries in the region cannot simply draw on without limit. Every cubic meter of water used to irrigate the southern desert is a cubic meter no longer available to older farming regions. Operating 24 massive pumps almost continuously requires an enormous amount of electricity, and that cost does not disappear simply because the fields have turned green. Under the fierce Saharan sun, a significant share of the water carried through open canals and onto irrigated fields never reaches the crops, but evaporates directly into the air. As water evaporates, it leaves salt behind, and over time, salt accumulating in the soil can make the land less fertile with every growing season. In some areas, continuous irrigation also causes the groundwater table to rise, requiring additional drainage systems to prevent the newly created fields from becoming waterlogged. Keeping the entire system operating, from the pumping station to every center pivot irrigator, creates an ongoing maintenance cost with no endpoint. Many of the crops best suited to the soil and water conditions here tend to require little care and withstand harsh environments, but they are not always the crops with the highest economic value. And perhaps the greatest challenge is not the crops, but the people. A stable community needs more than water and land. It needs schools, hospitals, jobs, and reasons for people to stay for the long term. Things that are still taking shape far more slowly than the green circles are appearing on satellite maps. So has Toshka succeeded? Measured by its technical capability, the answer is almost certainly yes. Egypt has proven that people can lift an immense volume of water across an elevation difference, push it for tens of kilometers, and turn part of the barren Sahara into farmland. But measured against the original promise of a wave of new settlers, self-sustaining agriculture, and a second valley to rival the Nile, the answer remains open. The green fields in the desert are real. No one who sees them from above can deny that. But behind every green circle lies a chain of costs: electricity, water, land, and dependence. that no satellite image can reveal. The Nile has flowed on its own through the Egyptian desert for thousands of years, without any machine to keep it moving. Toshka is different. It is a flow of water that exists only as long as people keep pumping, keep paying the electricity bills, and keep deciding that this share of water is worth the trade-off. The real question, perhaps, is not whether humans can turn desert into green fields, but can they sustain it forever, or only for as long as people can keep those machines running? If the choice were yours, do you think a country should pour its resources into creating new land in the desert, or focus on preserving what nature has already given it? Leave a comment below and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the engineering stories still to come.